All right. It's me. Already does it, or actually already know me, Rashid. Here with another live. It's going to be an audio live again. So put on your earphones, or AirPods, or headphones, or if you're busy in your household, or you're listening with other people, just put your speakers on. I won't be showing anything, I think, in this live stream. I can do it, but I don't think I will. So, because I don't really think I have to show much in this live stream, but okay. We'll see. When you're here, let me know the live chat, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me know when you're here, please. Thank you very much. Let me know when you're here. Let me know when you're here. Again, I'll start at 4 minutes. So you have the chance to just walk in and let me know the live chat when you're here. I'll start at 4 minutes. Oh, there are 2 thumbs up. Thank you very much. John, thanks for being here. I'm glad you can hear me loud and clear. Good. Flora, thanks for being here. Thanks for another thumbs up, whoever gave it. Mark, glad to have you here, man. All right, Danielle, glad to see you here too. That's why I wait a few minutes before I begin so that people can come in so they won't miss anything of the teaching. I also wait 4 minutes because I know it takes a little while for you to receive the YouTube notifications. Once you receive a notification on your phone, you may need to go to a different room or you need to pick up your earphones or whatever. So that's why I always put 4 or 5 minutes. I haven't used StreamYard for a while. With StreamYard is 5 minutes. With just the YouTube app is 4 minutes. Suzanne, glad to have you here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for another thumbs up. That goes well. This will help the video to be or the live stream to be found by others through the algorithm. Again, at 4 minutes, I'll begin. And I'm staying close with my wireless earphones to the mobile phone so that you can remain to hear me clearly because I walk away further with it. The sound may go off as I experienced with previous live stream. So, all right. I'll stay here. All right. 4 minutes. I'll be the clock has begun. When Satan comes to collect. It's a phrase that was used during a Hollywood movie in which one of the characters were warning you that yes, when you come to Satan, you can get stuff, but he always comes to collect later on. So that is not just something from a Hollywood movie. Because one thing you need to understand here, those producers in Hollywood, they are occultists. They know about the spirit world. And because they know about the spirit world, they also know that anytime you are involved in the dark side, whether you're aware of it or not, you end up trapped in some type of pattern. And you getting trapped in some type of pattern will always backfire in the long run. As simple as that. That's how it goes. No. Now, so even on a technical level, practicing darkness itself backfires. For example, if you are dumping a lot of sugar in your body by eating so many sweets, not regarding your physical health, but just dumping all that sugar in your body, at the time you're dumping that sugar in your body, well, its enjoyment is great. You have all that sugar, but your body has to deal with all those sugar attacks. Because that's what is going on. You're attacking your own body with all that sugar. So after a while, you'll either have diabetes or you'll have a big belly, a lot of belly fat. And when you have a lot of belly fat, it can lead to all types of health issues for you. And when you have all that belly fat or all that body fat on you, it will slow down the circulation of blood. It also will be a weight on you, so you will also look bad because all that obesity, and you have difficulty operating in daily life. So yes, dumping all that sugar in your body for a moment, it's exciting. But the long-term effects of dumping all that sugar in your body is something a lot of people don't want, because here's the thing. It's easy to dump all the sugar in your body, but once you have the diabetes or once you have the obesity, it's harder to get rid of that. It takes harder to get rid of the obesity than it is to dump the sugar in your body. Now, I'm not saying that being involved in the dark side is the same, absolutely the same as dumping sugar in your body by having an unhealthy diet. But in practice, it comes down to the same thing. Because here's what you need to understand. People prefer darkness because in darkness, you're not required to give an account of yourself. In darkness, it's dark. So you always have your quote unquote reasons. So let's say now you are tired of your wife and just want to go off with another woman. Now, in darkness, they will tell you they may tell you can't just do that, but in darkness they will also tell you, well, you only live once, and if you're unhappy, there's something fair towards your wife, this and that. So they'll give you a reason to get away from your wife. Or let's say that let's say that you're not used to being flexible in life, and now you have this anger and anxiety in you. Well, that anger and anxiety because you don't know how to be flexible in life. So the world gives you an outlet. Dump the anxiety and anger on someone else to feel better. So the world tells you you don't have to like everyone. The world tells you have a right to dislike people as long as you don't break the laws of the land by doing harm. You have a right to think negative. That's the thing. Darkness gives you excuses to escape. And that is the attractive side of darkness. Darkness has nothing actual to offer. But the reason people consider darkness as something attractive, something worthwhile, is because it enables them to escape. And as we know, worldlings are all about escaping. When they can't escape, they will escalate. Worldlings do not have the capacity to deal with discomfort on the long term. They do not have it. To either become numb, which is unhealthy, or they end up breaking down. Worldlings cannot handle with discomfort on the long term. Especially on psychological discomfort. They're not able to do that. Now, actually, no human being is designed for that. That's why you need to become born again. You need to walk by faith so you can overcome difficulties in life. Worldlings can only cope with difficulty. They don't have any victory over difficulty. And that's why worldlings are pushed to realize that they need the Heavenly Father. As simple as that. Now, do they recognize this? That they need the Heavenly Father? Now, many of them don't want to go there. So, they want to look for excuses for not facing the obvious. So that's the thing about people in the world, in general. They just want to flee. But oh, here it comes. Here it comes. When they flee collectively in this thing called society, the issues as well as the challenges they're running away from begin to haunt them. And once it haunts them, they can't undo the years and all the time fleeing. So now they need to face their own cowardly act. And now their past cowardice is going to become obvious. So now they have to load to cover up their cowardice. And the cover up of that cowardice is going to weigh more on them. As simple as that. Or just like the book of Proverbs says, as Suzanne mentioned in the live chat, the wicked flee when no one pursues. And here's the reason why the wicked flee when no one pursues. It's because you cannot avoid the challenges of life and at the same time be alive. Being alive simply means there are natural challenges come along with it. For example, you need to brush your teeth, you need to wash yourself, you need to wash your clothes. If you have a car, you need to maintain the car. Well, the car may break down, so you need to take that risk also. When you have social relationships, realize we have multiple bodies. Sometimes people pass away that you are familiar with. Truth being said, it's just being alive itself is a challenge. All right? So, this challenge is something you have to live. And the only way to live this challenge of life is by serving Christ. Pagans, on the other hand, they have a leverage. But for this leverage, as Joe mentioned in the live chat, they have to take things into their own hands. And that's quite exhausting. Yes, the pagan is the advanced worldling, who's practical. But even the pagan gets exhausted. Why? Because they don't have the Holy Spirit to operate through. So life itself requires dependence on the Heavenly Father. If there's no dependence on the Heavenly Father, it becomes one series of toxicity. And that is what worldlings have. Worldlings have a series of toxicity that haunts them. That's what they have. And the only way to get rid of that is when they are not in darkness anymore, but when they operate in the light. As simple as that. So, understand this. The escapism attitude of worldlings always haunts them. Let's say now there's child abuse going on in the community, okay? Some father or mother is smacking the children regularly. And people say, well, we're not going to intervene. It's their privacy, it's their private life, or it's their marriage. And people just don't do anything about it. Later, this child that was abused becomes mentally defective as an adult. Either he becomes a drug addict or he becomes a monster or whatever. Anyway, it's not going to end up well. And when, let's say the people that allowed this to happen, they now have grandchildren. Let's say now the grandchildren figure out that this serial killer who was arrested was actually a child who grew up in the grandparents' neighborhood. Then the grandchild's going to think, but grandpa, this man over here who's this notorious serial killer, wasn't he just a little boy that grew up in your neighborhood? And now in the documentary, they're saying that he suffered a lot of childhood trauma. But grandpa, how come he suffered all that childhood trauma in your neighborhood where all of you were living and none of you did something about it? What's going to happen now? Your grandfather cannot answer that question because if he has to answer it rightfully, then he has to say, well, we know what's going on, but we didn't care because we didn't want to be bothered. But if he would admit this, he would show himself for the narcissist and the coward he really is. So the grandpa will try to brush up saying, well, it was none of our business. But then the grandchild said, it was your business because it happened in your neighborhood. You allowed this to happen, and look at what happened, what's going on now. I'm saying that he, as a grown man, doesn't carry responsibility for what he's doing. Yes, he does. But he ended up as a monster because nobody intervened. Or the grandfather say, but I didn't know it. And then the grandchild's going to say, but how could you not know it and it happened around you all the time? You get me? So, in this case, the escapism of that young man by not intervening in child abuse, that escapism is haunting him now that he's a grandfather. Because now he needs to answer for things he cannot answer for. So now the collecting is going on. The consequences of escapism are not catching up with him. And this is the sad part about many people out there. They don't realize that escapism will always catch up with them. Now, some do. And because they do that, they're cautious with escaping. However, escapism always catch up with you. So the title of this live stream, when Satan comes to collect, well, that's true when you are in a demonic contract. And absolutely, demons will come to reap some quote-unquote benefits from you in the form of afflicting misery on you. But even if you're not involved in a demonic contract, even if you're not directly involved with evil spirits, nor anything occult, anytime you operate in darkness, on the long term, it will backfire on you. There's no such thing as long-term involvement in darkness and nothing backfires on you. It will, it always does. But when it comes back to haunt you, when it comes back to weigh on you, it will be in a time you least expect it and will in a time you're not ready for it. That is why you see a lot of elderly people out there. They're in the 60s or 70s and they are haunted by hallucinations. They're haunted by all types of nightmares. And now in a nursing home, a lot of the nurses have pity on those elderly people. But then, okay, well, let me give an example. Let's say you are a nurse. You work in a nursery home or in an elderly home where you have elderly people. And you see this old lady. She's 70. She's all by herself. And she's screaming and shouting. And she just lost her mind. She can't even function mentally anymore. Now, it's natural for you, the nurse, the female nurse, to feel compassion for her. You see a fellow female in her old age in such a demented state. But then you're at home and you tell your husband about it, and your husband asks, but darling, where are her children? If she didn't have any children, where are her relatives? Don't tell me she doesn't have relatives who are young. Don't tell me that she never had friends. Why aren't the children of her friends coming? Why isn't anyone looking her up? Then you tell your husband, well, a lot of people are selfish, is that, but then your husband tells you, don't a minute, darling. You work there. You are not directly related to her. You are a stranger and you have compassion. So don't tell me that she's 70 and there's nobody that heard about her past 7 decades who's still alive and who doesn't have compassion on her to visit her. And then you get to think, my husband's telling the truth. And then one day you talk about this lady in a nursing home to one of your colleagues. Now this colleague is another nurse. She's been there longer than you do. And she tells you, let's say your name is Mary. She tells you, Mary, listen, you know that elder lady there, 7 years old, that you have compassion on? Please don't. And you ask her, how can you say that? We're nurses. We're supposed to have some empathy and some compassion for the people we're working with. And then she tells her, listen, 20 years ago, yes, 20 years ago, I came to work here. Okay? And this lady you see over there was 50. She was not demented. She was not being stalked by hallucination, anything like that. She was a businesswoman who dropped her husband over here because she wanted to get rid of him. She was talking trash about her husband to everyone around. Her husband had an accident, and she just wanted to drop him to get rid of him. Well, her children found out about it and came and took the father away. Now, she's a narcissist. She is quite, let me say, she's quite mean, and she's quite dishonorable towards people, including her own children. Her children told me how she would publicly humiliate them just to get relief. So now that she is much older and she needs other people, there's nobody around because everyone remembers how trash she was towards other people. And that's how she ended up here. And because there's nobody around her, she loses her mind because human beings need social interaction. There's nobody here that wants to interact with her, and all the dirt she has done to other people throughout those decades are now haunting her mind and her body. That's why she is sick, she's demented, and that's why she will die lonely. So, now that you found out this about this elder lady, you think differently about her. You relate differently towards her. Now, this is the thing. When this witch, because that's what she is, she's a witch. When this witch was younger, she was 19 years old, she joined witchcraft and she put spells in the beginning just to, well, get ahead in life. At some point, she thought she could use witchcraft to deal with the issues in life, and she used witchcraft against other people just to be at ease. And that turned into her being upset and angry because she was always fleeing. And little by little, she turned to a narcissist. She became reprobate. And she went from bad to worse, to worse, to worse. And she ended up like that. So when she began with witchcraft at age 19, and during her 20s, she got everything she wanted, namely the husband, having a lot of children. When she got all those things, she never realized that witchcraft always comes with side effects. So when the side effects appeared, she began to fight the side effects with witchcraft. So that was quite messed up. And because side effects kept coming after her, she began to take it out on other people. And because she didn't want to face that about herself, she became reprobate. So now, as an elder lady, it's all catching up. And soon, when her body is about to deactivate, well, it's done. She'll transition to Sheol. And then when Jesus Christ comes back, she's resurrected. And then it's a lake of fire for her. So she had her cake during this lifetime, namely the financial ease. She had her cake, namely the smooth success. And now the lake, named the lake of fire, will follow her forever. Or better said, she'll be in the lake of fire forever. That's how it goes. Cake now, lake later. Cake now, lake later. That's how it goes for a lot of people. They have their cake right now, namely their smooth ease, the smooth prosperity, but it's followed by the lake named the lake of fire later on. Now, the reason I'm doing this live stream is because I want you to understand this. Everyone out there who are far into adulthood, who are not serving the Heavenly Father, they have stuff that haunts them. Okay? Look, what is an unbeliever and what is a worldling? Okay? A worldling is someone who has a worldly mindset, which is a mindset of escapism. Unbelievers are everyone who's not born again. Now, children are not counted amongst unbelievers because they're just children. People in the early teens are still children still. They just transition out of childhood. Unbelievers and worldlings in practice applies to people in their mid-teens and older. Mid-teens means around 15, 16. People in the mid-teens and older, they are considered actual worldlings because they have the ability to see that something's wrong with the world and to choose better. And they are responsible for choosing better also. So I'm not talking about people who are early in their adulthood, like people of age 19, 20, 21. I'm talking about them. I'm talking about people far in adulthood, so beyond age 25. Everyone far in adulthood, so older than 25, who's not serving the Heavenly Father, they all have stuff that haunts them. You don't have to be 60 or 70 years old to have things haunting you. Everyone above age 25 who's not serving the Heavenly Father, they have pollution that afflicts them. The pollution is the side effect of operating in darkness. Whether the pollution is health issues because they're smoking, or they are eating a lot of fatty food, or they are not working out, or they're not taking care of their bodies, or whether it's side effects in the form of toxic relationships because they have wrong expectations, or it's that they are taken advantage of because they lack proper understanding. Everyone far in adulthood, so everyone beyond age 25 who's not serving the Heavenly Father, they are haunted. Now, not all of them are haunted the same way. Some are obviously haunted because they're completely intoxicated with tragedies and accidents that are following them. All right? But just because someone is not intensely haunted doesn't mean they're not haunted. The haunting doesn't have to be demonic. There's actually demons haunting them. Okay? Now, there are people out there who have demons haunting them. And by the way, not everyone who has demons haunting them has to be an unbeliever. Sometimes believers who are not delivered yet also have demons haunting them because the demons seek to hinder them from getting delivered. But I'm talking about unbelievers now. Unbelievers above age 25, they are all haunted by something. It doesn't have to be demons directly, but they're haunted by dysfunction, or they're haunted by danger, or they're haunted by, as I explained before, paranormal deadlines, as I explained in another video of mine. So, because worldlings are fleeing all the time, the longer they are alive, the more things will haunt them. As simple as that. Even if a worldling is not a bad individual, in the sense that they are sadistic, right? They're not sadistic, they're not into devil worship, they're not into harming anyone. Even the best case scenario of an unbeliever is still dysfunctional. Why? Because they're not walking by faith, they don't serve the Heavenly Father. And it's only in serving the Heavenly Father that we are complete and permanently stable. So the unbeliever is unstable, and that instability itself is something that will haunt them over time. The unbeliever is unstable by default, and this instability itself will catch up with them later on. So even an unbeliever is, as they say, a good person because he's not into any bad evil doing, even the best version of an unbeliever is still haunted by dysfunction because they're inherently unstable. As simple as that. So understand this. Unbelievers who are far in adulthood, so beyond age 25, anytime you're around them, expect there is some type of dysfunction that haunts them. The dysfunction doesn't have to be a major thing. It can also be a small thing, like toxic shyness, or something as they're not being able to notice things on time, being a bit mentally slow, to wrong thinking, whatever it is. There is some type of dysfunction that afflicts them. So when you are involved with them, that dysfunction will also affect you. That's why we're told not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. It doesn't say we should not be in contact with them at all. It doesn't mean we should avoid them at all costs. It's not what Scripture is saying here. It tells us not to be yoked with them. It tells us not to have fellowship with them. Think about it. If someone doesn't have the Holy Spirit, so they don't have any resurrection power of Christ, that means they have no power at all to deal with life's difficulties. The only thing they have is to cleverly escape difficulty or to cope with difficulty. So if they can only escape or cope, how can you have fellowship with them and you have the power? If you're both unbelievers and both lost, then you can have fellowship, either fellowship in escaping or fellowship in coping. But because you are a believer and you have the Holy Spirit, anytime when it comes down to difficulty, you think, hey, let's pray, let's decree, declare. They can't get along with that because they're in lack. So fellowship between the believers and unbelievers is impossible. It's impossible for you to fellowship with those outside of Christ when you are a believer. Now, you can spend time together and you can have happy moments and you can have intimate moments when it comes to daily activities or when it comes to your job. And some believers even have an unbelieving spouse, even though I don't recommend it. You can be intimate in activities, external activities. When it comes to your attitude and your long-term walk in life, you cannot fellowship with unbelievers as a believer. It's not going to work. There are even unbelievers who can't fellowship one another because they have different outlooks on how things have to go in life. Hold on. There was some disturbance with the connection, but it's fixed again. It's good. All right. Can you all hear me well? All right. Good. Now look. When even in paganism, they inform you that if you do a witchcraft spell, or you do a black magic spell, or you do a hex or whatever, or you practice some occult knowledge, even in the occult, they warn you, there will be side effects with this. There's no such thing as occult practice without side effects. There are some ignorant pagans out there, those exist, but those are rare. Pagans know that in life you need a leverage. They know it. But they also know that the leverage they're using is not from the Heavenly Father. They know that leverage they're using comes with side effects. So they're cautious about it. That's why you have a lot of pagans out there who could do spells to get things easily in life, but they don't do it. Haven't you wondered that? You have those people who are into black magic or they're into witchcraft, whether it's in the form of voodoo, hoodoo, obeya, santeria, or the form of Buddhism or Shintoism or a Wicca, whatever. You see that they have those manuals on how to do spells to manipulate circumstances in life. But then you see them having a 9-to-5 job. And you think to yourself, hold on a minute. This guy is a warlock. So he can easily do some spells and he gets financial opportunities. And you think to yourself, why isn't he doing it? And he's not even teaching other people how to do these financial spells just to get ahead. But here's what you don't understand. That man, that warlock knows that with every spell or every paranormal incantation you do, there will be some side effect coming with it that you have to put up with. And this man has been warned about that, and he has even seen examples of people who did money spells, and the money came, but also tragedy came with it. So the truth is, a lot of pagans out there, they have a more advanced mindset. Now, does that mean they're believers? No, because they're still not born again. They only have an advanced mindset and understanding how the spirit world works. And because a lot of pagans out there, I'm saying because the majority of pagans have this advanced mindset, because this advanced mindset is part of being pagan anyway, because pagans in general have this advanced mindset, that's why their attitude towards luxury is different. Haven't you noticed this? That a lot of pagans don't even care much about luxury? Now, I'm not saying that they can't love jewelry, they can't love fancy clothes if they are rich. I'm not saying that's a warlock, they can't love fast cars, all of that. Yes, they have their luxurious interest. But many of them don't consume themselves and they don't care much about luxury. They can have luxurious longings, but they're not mesh into it. Now, except the celebrities, because the celebrities have an image to uphold, okay? But apart from celebrities, haven't you noticed that pagans in general, they're not consumed at all by luxury and by making money and by all those selfish ambitions people have out there? Have you noticed that? Now, why is that? It's because those pagans, they know the reality of how things work here on the earth. They know that when you, as a fellow human being, gains an advantage, that this advantage will scare other people. When other people are scared of your advantage, they will retaliate against you. So the pagans understand that human beings in the fallen state will retaliate against you once you gain a leverage. They know that. So they know that if they do some money spell or whatever type of spell to get an advantage in life, that as a result, people will turn on them. So then they need a paranormal charm to be safe from the retaliation. They know this. And they also know that the charm itself, as well as the spell, both will have side effects that will come after them. So they know that, you know what? Even though I can't stand it waking up every morning to go to work, even though I don't want this at all, you know what? I prefer to have a 9 to 5 and to be tired often, but at least I know that I'm still alive. Because once I do money spells and all of that, and I get ahead, yes, I can do that, but I also must be ready to renew charms every 2 or 3 years. Because charms expire. So every 2 or 3 years, I know that something bad can happen to me if I don't renew. And once I begin doing this, there's no turning back. So that pagan realizes, you know what? Maybe it's not a good idea to chase financial prosperity. Because not only will I get retaliation from the crowd, I also have to deal with side effects as long as I live. And here's the thing. Once the crowd begins to retaliate against you, they will never stop. So you may see pagans doing spells and rituals just to have ease during their 9 to 5 to make sure that they're never without money, or that they never get fired, or even if they're fired, there's always another job waiting for them. There are pagans doing that. They use tiny magic and tiny witchcraft. They use small amounts of spells and all of that just to have comfort in daily life. But they don't go out to chase their dreams, as we are told. Why not? Because they know that fallen mankind, their fellow human beings, will turn on them for having a leverage. They know that very well. That's why a lot of those pagans who just get along with the 9 to 5, when they see you, even if you are a pagan just like them, when they see you prospering in life, they know you either prosper because of paranormal aid, or you prosper because you are a follower of Jesus Christ. They know that. Now, if you are having prosperity and progress in your life, and the pagan who just wants to stay low key sees this, he or she will move away from you, because they know there will be retaliation against you, and the retaliation may backfire onto them also if they are around you often. Maybe you are not aware of this, but many of those families that have a house, a car, and an easy existence, they are pagan. Now, they may cover this up by going to church as pagan Christians, but they're pagan. Many of those neighbors out there with big, expensive houses, out there to say 95% of all the people living there are pagan. And because they're all pagan, they live together and they keep non-pagans out. They may allow a believer to live amongst them, but if you are an unbeliever with no spirit knowledge whatsoever, thinking that, hey, I achieved this by my own, they don't want you around. That's why many of those homes, when you walk by them, you see a Buddha statue, or you see some statue of a Greek god, you see some type of pagan decoration in their backyard or at their front door. You know why? Because that's what they are. They're pagan. They're using charms to be safe and to be at ease. That's what they do. So they have the burden to always renew the charms every 2 or 3 years. That's why such people often don't want you to visit them at home. Why? Because here's the thing. Even if you have a charm on your house, If you allow just anyone to walk to your house, you're inviting their tensions with them. If you have people who are polluted with negative tension, and you invite them into your house, or you allow them to get in, you also welcome the tension that's following them, because that tension is on them. The tension will be everywhere they are. So that's why pagans are quite cautious who they allow to come to their home. Even relatives often keep at a distance. And if you are a believer, they sometimes don't even want you around, because you walking in that resurrection power of Christ may burn down the charm around their house. And when the charm around their house is burnt down, all types of danger will happen to them. So it can be you are a believer. It can be you are a believer and you visit this pagan at his house, and after you leave, suddenly the pagan is robbed. Why? Because you're a believer walking by faith, your presence itself burns down the demon excrement that was smeared on top of his house. And because the demon excrement was burnt by your presence, by your positive presence, now that demon excrement that was smeared on his house does not work anymore in keeping danger at bay. So now he was robbed. So that's why pagans often don't want you as a believer to come to their house. Now, some do, but many don't. Now you also understand why many of those Chinese restaurants, not only Chinese restaurants, that's why many of those restaurants in general, they have either some Catholic statue or a Buddha statue, or many of them have an aquarium. Have you seen that? You have those restaurants with aquariums? Let me tell you the pagan wisdom behind that. There are pagans who do marine witchcraft or marine black magic. So they deal with water spirits. What are water spirits? Water spirits are fallen angels who are roaming in the oceans to hide from the presence of the Heavenly Father. And then you also have Nephilim, you also have sea Nephilim, which are called mermaids or mermen, or simply sirens, who are also inhabiting the oceans. So you have people doing marine witchcraft or marine black magic for a business. And that's why they put an aquarium in the restaurant where the customers are at. It's not for decoration, because that water in that aquarium is charmed. That water and those fish in there are also charmed. Some of those fish even have demons in them. You get me? And that aquarium is there to absorb negative tension. Let's say you have a customer who's going through a divorce, and he has a lot of psychic tension around him because he's stressed out. He enters the restaurant. Instead of psychic tension affecting the restaurant, now the psychic tension is absorbed by the charmed water in the aquarium. Yes, and that's the reason. That's one of the reasons, not the reason, but that's one of the reasons why many of the luxurious places in the world are located either at the river or at the sea. By the way, most of the traffic on the earth happens by sea, by cargo. But that's not the only reason, because there are also cities near the sea that are poor. But many of those luxurious places are near water. Now you know why. Sirens, there are physical sirens who are thousands of years old, roaming the oceans. Those exist, but many of them are in spirit form also. That's why you have sea lodges in many seaports. You have sea lodges where people come to meet sirens and to have sexual intercourse with sirens. And a lot of church pastors doing this. So beware of that. And those pastors that involve themselves in marine black magic or marine witchcraft, to keep the witchcraft and the black magic from fading, they have to cause sexual trauma in their churches. That's why you hear about a lot of pastors sleeping with their members or sleeping with the children over there. It is because they need to keep trauma in the congregation. So now you know why there's so many churches with sexual trauma and sex scandals, because those pastors are warlocks who worship marine spirits. That's why. Now you also know why there's some women out there that wear certain jewelry. For example, you may see this lady who just finished college with high degrees, with high grades, I mean. So she finished college with high grades. She's good looking, she is pleasant to talk to, and she has a job also. So she's not whoring around or anything like that. But you notice she often wears black, and she has this ring with a black stone in it. She said, she tells you she got it from her mom or grandma or from her grandpa. So she said it's a family piece. Bullshit! That's bullshit. Let me tell you what's going on. I'm not saying it's bullshit that it's a family piece. It can be that indeed their grandma had it and now they have it, whatever. But let me tell you, many times it has nothing to do with grandma or whatever. They often come this grandma story just to get sympathy from you. Let me tell you what's going on. She is a witch. She's involved in witchcraft and she's using a charm to be secure. That's why she's not sexually harassed. That's why she's not bothered by men with lustful, perverted attitudes, and that's why nobody seeks to take advantage of her, because she has a charm. Okay? And that ring with this black stone, this black jewel, is where the demons reside in. So that ring has demons in it. Okay? And it's the demons also that notice things around her. So everywhere she goes, she wears that ring. The only time she has the ring off is when she is taking a shower, is when she's taking a shower. That's the only time. All the other times she has this ring on. And she's not married. I'm telling you, she's a witch. But then you find out about her that she's not into men, she's into other women. Out of the blue, you think, what? You? Or you hear that maybe she's not into other women, maybe she's into men, but she's with a boyfriend who's quite effeminate. You notice that there's some type of sexual dysfunction with her. And you think, why does she have this dysfunction? It is because, as a witch, she has been informed properly, and she has been made very clear, when you do witchcraft, things will go smoothly for you on a short term, but you have to renew the charms. Look, you'll both get retaliation from the masses, so you have other women becoming jealous of you, because want to come after you, and you will have side effects to deal with. But you can cope with the side effects if you choose your own side effect. Instead of a side effect just happening to you, you can choose your own tragedy. So that woman may decide to choose an effeminate man to be with. They barely have sex, and when they have sex, the sexual performance of the man is horrible, but she prefers to put up with that sexual frustration than to have a sudden sickness afflicting her. Or she may decide, I'm into women, and she joins that rainbow community, because that will be her dysfunction. She is chosen so that when the charm begins to fade, there's already a dysfunction in place over there. So pay attention to those women who have pieces of jewelry they always carry with them. Or you may see them with a lot of expensive jewelry over and over again. And they walk around this jewelry and they're never out. Now you know why. Some of the men put certain tattoos on their bodies, because the ink that was used was charmed. So now they have charmed ink burnt in their skin. And that's why when they have to renew a charm, they already have charmed ink in their skin, so the renewal goes easily. So it's because there's nothing external to be charmed. They've charmed their own skin just to be secure. That's why a lot of those men, when they suddenly become prosperous in life, you see them put all those tattoos on themselves, and you think, why is he doing that? No, I'm not against people who took tattoos. If you took a tattoo, that's on you, you've taken it. I'm not going to see you as a less of a human being or whatever. I'm just saying there are pagans out there who take tattoos as a form of a charm. That's why you have those gang members who tattoo all of their body, because those tattoos are charms. And there are women indeed who also take charm tattoos. And here's the thing. All those pagans, whether they're witches or warlocks, they know side effects will come. So either you choose your own side effect. The side effect is not something demons choose. It's not as if when you take a charm, demons say, okay, we're going to help you out, but we're going to do this to you. It's not how it works. The fact alone that it's demon excrement that you rely on already brings side effects on you. But the side effect of having demons excrement on your energy field, you can divert it away by choosing your own dysfunction. That's why you see those successful businessmen. You see those handsome, successful businessmen. When you look at their wife, it's some street whore that's sleeping around all the time and wasting their money. And you think to yourself, is this the best woman this man could got? There are many decent women out there. Why didn't you choose one of them? It's because he's a warlock and he knows that he needs to have some sexual dysfunction around him. So the charm doesn't fade easily, and there is going to be side effects. So he preferred to choose his side effect himself than to a side effect happening to him. Because if this man would have had a decent wife, that decent sexual relationship would have destroyed the charm. So it wouldn't have worked. So he needs to be in dysfunction. So pagans who are succeeding in life, when it comes to finances or their careers, whatever, they cannot afford healthy sexual relationships. But now you say, but Rashid, I know my neighbor who's a warlock and he is happy with his wife. He appears happy on the outside. And yes, he may not be cheating on his wife with other women, but maybe at home, without you being aware of it, he's watching porn often. You don't know about that. Or maybe they didn't have sexual intimacy for a while because for some reason he can't get his cock hard or whatever. I'm telling you, all pagans who are succeeding in life, in the here and now, they have some type of sexual dysfunction and rarely another type of dysfunction that follows them. But 9 out of 10 times dysfunction is of a sexual nature. So with all the ease those pagans have, there's a little bit of unhappiness they carry with them, and they realize this unhappiness needs to be there. Sometimes it's not there. But it's rarely, the dysfunction is not sexual, but something in their health. For example, they may get some lung disease, or they may get some cancer, or they may get some tumor, or they may get some diabetes, whatever. Or they choose, or you get them sick because the charm needs its function. So because it's not on a sexual level, that is in their health. Anyway, sexual dysfunction will always destroy your health anyway, but you get what I'm saying. So, when you see unbelievers succeeding in life, never as a believer get sad thinking, Heavenly Father, why not me? Heavenly Father, why them? Heavenly Father, I'm serving you. I'm dealing with all this persecution against me for your name's sake. And look at this witch or this warlock. Look at they get things so easily. No. Don't think about that way. Absolutely not. You don't know that every 2 or 3 years, they have a season of danger in which you need to renew charms. And if they renew it too late, they're finished. So every 2 or 3 years, they're in danger. You're not. You have power to overcome difficulty. They only have a temporary shield against difficulty. That's a big difference. So you are far ahead than them. Because everything they have, quote unquote, have now, whether it's a family or a business or money or expensive cars, whatever, every one of those things is a weight on them because the thing is, they don't have long-term safety. The only thing is they have relief from danger, but they're not freed from danger. So while having all those cars, all that money, and those houses, all those bitches, or maybe they're not into fornication, but they just have a spouse, all those gadgets they have are just dead gadgets, but they're still unsafe while having all those things. So if they miss out on renewing the charm, they're dead, or they can lose everything just like that. Why would you be sad because you don't have the afflictions they have? UFC League ask, why does it seem like upper middle class pagans are more subtle while poor pagans are more open with it? Well, that's true. Middle class pagans are generational pagans. Their great great grandparents were used to be pagans doing the same thing. For generations, they've been doing this. And for generations, they've been wedding out the children to other pagans. That's another thing I want you to realize. Many of those middle class families, they don't believe in this liberal idea of marrying whoever you want. They say this in public just to get along with the crowd. But in real life, even the children want to be wed out to someone, because the children, while growing up, they were informed and they saw that wrong sexual relationships can be fatal. So they prefer their parents who have practical knowledge to wed them out. So arranged marriages are common amongst middle class families, but it's not arranged like, for example, in South Asia, where you're just told this is going to be a husband, shut up. No. In the middle class families, the arranged marriages are more in the form of parents decide which sex partner is proper for them. Because remember, many of those middle class families, I'll say 98% of them, they're middle class because of paganism, not because of hard work or whatever. That's why you have some of those quote unquote rich kids where the parents, when they grow up, they want to escape their middle class family or their millionaire family. They prefer to sell drugs in the streets, or they prefer to smoke drugs and to wander around like vagabonds, eating out of trash cans. And you think to yourself, huh? Why would this rich kid who comes from this middle class household, who comes from this rich neighborhood, why would he or she prefer to whore around, prefer to be on the streets, to struggle like people from the hood? People from the hood, from the ghettos, thinking, what? Your father is the owner of that recruitment business, and they tell him, listen, dude, many of us applied for jobs at that recruitment office, but they turned us down. And your father owns a recruitment business, and you want to be around us, was rejected by society. Now you know why many of those rich kids, not all of them, but many of them have this face where they wander around and prefer to be self-destructive. You know why? Because they know the truth of the matter. We, the common public, think, oh, these people are middle class. It's either their parents worked hard and they reap the benefits, or they're hardworking, they know how to manage money, they know how to build wealth. That's all the fiction we are taught. Hello, it's all fiction. It's paranormal aid that keeps them with that middle class lifestyle. And those children grew up seeing the hypocrisy and all those demonic rituals behind the scenes. And those children want to escape that. So those children see that in the hood, where there are a lot of shootings, you're safer than amongst those middle class people who are faking it. Okay, Joe asks, if a pagan gets saved, does the paranormal charm automatically end, and does retaliation come like tsunami? Absolutely. That's why some of those rich kids don't become believers, because they know once they become believers, it's going to be a hell for them. And by the way, because they know the secrets of society even try to kill them because they turn to Christ. Joe also said, also when God promotes you, you have to have a certain mindset and development in him, where much is given, much required. The retaliation comes. That's true. One individual, is it an unconscious or conscious choice? It relates to arranged marriages, it's a conscious choice eventually. Now you get it. Now you get it. The whole idea of working hard and making your way through, or the idea of kissing people's ass, this effective speaking of being a people's pleaser, just to get things in life, it doesn't work. All those who have this long-term financial ease in life, they either have it as a result of walking by faith and overcoming, okay? But that means they have a whole history of fights they have to overcome. Or, like 98% of people who have that, they have it on a paranormal level. As simple as that. Haven't you noticed, for example, that if a woman, quote unquote, gets sexually involved with a guy from a middle class household, or from those rich class, suddenly stays away from relatives? Because here's the thing: when she is quote unquote sexually interested in that guy tells his mom and dad, and the ceremony master of the cult they're part of, and then the mom and dad and the ceremony master of the cult, they do energetic inquiries and they research this woman. So one day the parents say, invite this girl to our home, we want to see her. And the parents check the girl, saying if the girl is suitable or not. Okay? And then if the parents agree, okay, this girl is suitable, they then invite her again to their home, and then they tell everything to the woman. Listen, our son is part of this community. And the only reason we have this lifestyle of ease that you see around here is because we worship evil spirits. And then the girl may think, what? Evil spirits? And then the parents say, yes, evil spirits, fallen angels, and some are Nephilim. Then she thinks, Nephilim? What is that? Well, anyway, here's the Bible. Please read it. And there's some videos we want you to look at. Read the Bible from cover to cover and watch these videos. And then tell us if you're still interested in dating our son. And then the boyfriend tells the girl, do it. We're not going to have any dates or whatever until you read the Bible and watch these videos. Then the girl thinks, okay, let me read the Bible. She ends up reading the Bible from cover to cover. She gains knowledge, and then she looks at the videos, and then she realizes, oh my God, these people are, these people rely on evil spirits. And now she has a choice to make. Is she going to continue dating that guy and staying with him? Or is she keeping her mouth shut and continuing? Now, a lot of women, when they find out all of this, they think, you know what? I don't want this. Okay? Some of them even become believers afterwards. Some of those women used to be agnostics or atheists or whatever, but once they got sexual interest in this guy from a wealthy background, their parents forced her to read the Bible and to watch those videos, those documentaries, then realize, oh Lord, atheism is fake. Agnosticism is fake because all these people in government are either there due to some trickery or they rely on evil spirits themselves. And then realize, hold on a minute. From that point on, they're not atheists or anything anymore. They know the truth. So a lot of them then say, I don't want to date this man anymore. They keep their mouth shut, then they become believers later on. Some become reprobates. But then there are also those who think, oh, you know what? There are benefits staying with this family. You know what? Let's join this family. Then you end up joining the guy. But what you notice is that the moment they have this sexual relationship with this guy, they begin to neglect their family ties. Why? Because they're told by the ceremony master of the cult, you can't be deeply involved with your family anymore because you're not on their level anymore. And they begin to divert away. For example, you see some African American women wanting to get with European men of wealthy backgrounds, and they end up forfeiting their ties to the black community. Why is that? Because they know what they've joined. They're also, I'm not saying that every wealthy European man out there is a pagan, because they're also wealthy European believers, as well as they're wealthy Asian and African Hispanic believers also. But just to tell you, many of those mixed relationships out there are an exchange. The woman leaves her own community behind just to participate in the wealth charm of her in-laws. But there's also another thing people don't talk about. I just explained to you. Many, not all, but many of those mixed relationships out there have nothing to do with love nor sexual affection. It's the female wanting an easier life financially, and she picks up a man from a wealthy background where the people rely on charms. V. White Tautus 69. I don't understand your question about a material body. Please explain your question, please. Now look, once you understand how this world really works, and once you understand that it's all thing of hard work and making it, and it's whole thing of having good connections, it's nothing but the hoax. Once you realize how it really works, you now begin to see things as they are. Suddenly, you're not that interested anymore to hang out around certain people because you realize that they have charms. And because they have charms, there's side effects. Look, I'm not saying that if when someone is a pagan, they automatically are evil or bad people. No. But what they're involved with is not good. Absolutely not. That's why, as a believer who walks in power, you're often welcomed amongst those pagan groups. But as just a commoner, or as a believer without any without any faith walk, you will not. As simple as that. So, anytime, anytime you walk by faith, you will realize that when people are welcoming you, it's all because of the leverage you have as a believer. That's why sometimes you have people welcoming you, hang out with you, getting intimate with you quickly, and later you find out that they're in paganism, they're in Freemasonry or whatever, and think, what? Why these people welcome me knowing I'm serving Christ? It's because you, as a believer, who serious about walking by faith, you have a dominant impact. You get me? And because you have this dominant impact, you're safe to be around. Those same people that welcome you, they're distant towards their own relatives often, but they're close towards you because you are safer to be around. They know that once you figure out the secret, you won't just spread all over the place causing trouble. They know that many of their own relatives will turn on them for not allowing them to have a piece of the cake. So, understand this. Operating in darkness always comes with dysfunction that will haunt you. If someone is a pagan, then they have a leverage in their life. But even this leverage comes with some dysfunction that afflicts them. And if someone has a demonic contract, or they're directly in contact with demons, then automatically there will be some reaping in a form of misery that happens. And by the way, those people involved in demonic contracts, directly like Mendo celebrities, they have to do soul harvesting rituals in which they endanger their own fans or they endanger the people that are doing business with them. Well, I won't say much, but this Travis Scott situation should have been a clear eye-opener to you. If the Travis Scott situation is not an eye-opener to you, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. And right now, many people are developing an interest in the occult because of the Travis Scott situation. That's why didn't want to put much attention on the Travis Scott situation, but now you know. It was a soul harvesting ritual to endanger his followers, and this endangerment led to some of them dying. So those are blood sacrifices. And by the way, don't be upset with Travis Scott, because many of you, the company or corporation you work for does the same thing. Why do you think that at the office, often you're exhausted, working from 9 to 5, exhausted with work that doesn't matter? Why? Because look, you work at this corporation or this company, okay? But the owners of that company or the stakeholders are all in demonic contracts. So from time to time, they need to bring blood sacrifices. So that's why they make sure there's this climate of exhaustion at the workplace, and this climate of exhaustion itself will hinder or slow down your cognitive abilities, and then you leave work one day and you enter in a car accident because Due to being exhausted by work, your brain reaction was lowered down, and you didn't see a car coming, and you died. Why? If you were not exhausted by work, your cognitive abilities would have worked better. But because you were exhausted at work on purpose, you ended up in an accident. And you dying of that accident is a tribute to the demons. Because you dying in that accident causes trauma and hurt the community, and demons feed off this negativity that's released by this hurt. So many of those corporations out there are black magic operations. So that's why when you work there, they exhaust you. The management has instructions to exhaust you because some of you have to die for the charm of the corporation to continue working. So what happened at the Travis Scott concert is happening on a daily basis in the 9-to-5 workplaces, but most people aren't even aware of it. So it's hypocritical to be upset at Travis Scott and call him a piece of shit and all of that, but you have honor and respect for your employers who are doing the exact same thing. And that's why when you work at such offices or such places often, when it's 5 p.m. or sometimes 6 p.m. and people need to go home, everyone's rushing to go away. Nobody wants to leave the building the last one, because here's the thing. Everyone was there getting exhausted and stressed out. So that negative tension hangs in the building. That negative tension has turned into a dark cloud. The individual that leaves the last, that dark cloud will cling on to them because negative energy is heavy. And negative energy is magnetic in the sense that it clings onto negativity. If you've been exhausted at work all day long and you are the last one to leave the office, what's going to happen? You're still wounded by being exhausted. And because you're wounded by exhaustion, the dark cloud that's been shaped throughout those 8 hours that day will gravitate towards you. So when you leave the office, you leave with all the toxic tension of that day. That's why when it's time to go home, they all close down their computers very quickly and all want to rush. They run to leave the building. Now you know why. If you encounter this, that when it's time to stop working, everyone is rushing to leave, now you know why they're doing it. Because they understand the spirit world, that if there's a lot of toxicity somewhere and you are wounded, that toxicity will be drawn towards your wounds. And if you leave the building, the last one, you'll be the one carrying the weight. You'll be the one going home stressed out, developing a disease. Or you'll be the one going home, and because of psychic tension, you'll be emotionally overwhelmed and end up in a fight with your spouse or your children. Or you'll be the one leaving work and end up in a car accident or whatever. So that negativity that's been generated that day, demons ate it, but now the last individual leaves the building will stick with it. That's why often at work, let's say you start to work at 9 in the morning and you end up at 5. Let's say you arrived at 8:30. So you're entitled to leave earlier, 30 minutes earlier. But often the employer will tell you you're not allowed to leave earlier. Why? Because if you leave, there's more that for them to deal with. It's a rat race at the end of the day to leave the office as soon as possible. And the one that leaves the last one is the one that has to deal with issues. Shortage of people, it'll be exactly the same thing. So now you know the secret of the 9 to 5 in the workplace. It's not only to drain you on a psych level just to feed demons, but here's the thing. Those 9 to 5 workplaces, I'm not saying everyone there is in on it. No, most people don't even know this. They're ignorant about this. But I'm talking about the owners of that corporation. They are aware of it. So those corporations are blood plantations. From time to time, someone has to die as a blood sacrifice to generate trauma in the community, and demons feed off this trauma. Because remember, the charm of that corporation is demon excrement that is smeared on their businesses or on them. And the demon excrement comes from demons eating the traumatic emissions of our energy fields. So if there are no traumatic emissions from our energy fields, demons cannot generate this demonic feces that they can put as a charm. So the demons need to be fed human trauma so that they can generate this demon excrement that is smeared on those pagans and their business as a charm. So their charms rely on psychic trauma in the community. So they have to contribute to psychic trauma in the community. As simple as that. The traffic in the morning serves the same purpose. That's why you often get a car from the employer. Look at this. You just got the contract to work there. You didn't even work a day, but tell you, hey, here's a car. You can use this car to come to work every day. Why are they doing that? Why are they so generous to give you a car to come to work? They're not generous in pay you a high wage, but they're generous in offering you a car to come to work. Why are they doing that? Because they know that by you come to work with a car, you'll end up in traffic jams often. That will stretch you out. Think, oh, I need to be on time or else I'm late. It's all meant to contribute to you being stressed out and psychically exhausted. So, those mega corporations or mega churches, they collect souls in a fictive sense that they put you in psychic trauma, and some of you die because of it, but because you're not aware that they're doing it, you think, well, individual died of a car accident, well, it was just tragic, or they just had a mental breakdown because we're working too hard. We try to blame anything else. It's blood farming. It's blood farming. Now, with this Travis Scott festival, by the way, a fast comes from feast. Means a feast is when there's a lot of food and people are enjoying delicious food. So a festival is an event where there's a lot of delicious food. That's what a festival is. But here's the thing, if you have a festival, there must be a feast, so a lot of delicious food for you to eat. You got me? If there is a festival where there's no feast, it's not a festival. So if it's a festival but there's no delicious food parade all over the place, who is the food? You are. You are the food for demons. You are the food for demons. You. If it's a festival, I expect to see the cakes, I expect to see the fish dishes, I expect to see the caviar, I expect to see the cheesecake. I should see a whole parade of food and people fill their stomach with a festival. If it's a festival and there's no delicious food and people just standing there screaming and shouting for an artist, then they are the food. They are the food. That's why in high school, in secondary school, you are conditioned to accept a stressful existence. That's why you get homework. Homework is to give you is to condition children to a stressful existence. Children and teenagers are conditioned to have a stressful existence by giving them homework. Homework is to make them comfortable with being invaded by toxic demands of society. Homework is designed to get children and teenagers to get used to being invaded by the toxic expectations of society. That's it. That's why many local authorities don't want you to homeschool your children. Because when your children are homeschooled in a proper way, or if your children go to a private school where the homework is relaxed, they'll have a better outlook in life. Look, children go to private schools or they're homeschooled have a better outlook on life most of the time than children go to public school. Because public school is there to shape your children, or better said, to form them into accepting being food for demons. Now, there's nothing wrong with giving children and teenagers assignments to teach them. There's nothing wrong with that. That type of homework I'm not talking about. I'm talking about giving them work to do at home that serves no purpose. So, as simple as that. Now you understand why society is shaped in such a way that they make it very hard for you to get money. That's why things are shaped in such a stressful way. Now you know it. So do not go off at Travis Scott for being involved in that thing that he did, okay? While you keep praising the 9 to 5. How can you praise the 9 to 5 while you are against Travis Scott? The 9 to 5 and the Travis Scott festival are the exact same thing. Now, you can have a 9 to 5 for a little while. If you need to pay rent or you have a family to feed, then I can understand you for 9 to 5 if you don't have any other option right now. But don't let it be your lifestyle that's just the way you do till the day you die. Don't fall for that. If you have to live together with people in one house, everyone works part-time, you do that. And now you know why many companies would want you to work part-time. Because if you work part-time, you'll notice things about the corporation, you'll leave. That's why some jobs want you to be highly educated. Some jobs want you to be low educated because low educated people seldom notice things. Highly educated people at some point will notice things. That's how it is with some jobs. So that's why part-timers are not promoted by society, because part-timers are able to escape all of this. And they'll still notice things. Full-timers are exhausted and they can't think properly because they're exhausted all the time. All right? So understand. Though society in general uses the paranormal for daily relief. And from time to time, Satan will come to collect. Just make sure you're not the one being collected. Make sure that you are not the one Satan comes to collect. Make sure you're not the one being collected by society. Because society will collect people by setting them up to die tragically. Society sets you up to die tragically. It will not happen to everyone, but it will hit some people here and there. Make sure you and your children and those around you are not the ones being harvested. Amen, Christopher. That's why a lot of customer service jobs, not all of them, that's why many of them don't give adequate tools on how to solve the problems with the customers. Sometimes the company creates problems for the customers, know the customers will lose it on the phone. Why? So that you as a customer service, you get all the negative tension. You as a customer service often, not always, but often, you are the sponge, the psychic sponge that takes all the psychic violence against the corporation. And because you on the phone gets all the psychic anger of the customer, the psychic anger haunts you and not the company. You get me? So that's also a reason why customer service jobs are so popular these days. Why? Because the company, to contribute to the paranormal, they need to cause psychic trauma. So the company will, on purpose, make bad decisions to get the customers angry. When the customers calls and act out their anger, it's you on the line that gets all the anger. Because if they couldn't, if the customers don't have an outlet to call and act out, that they would curse and meditate negatively on the company, and the company will face harm. So that's why you have the customer service to deal with the psychic tension. I'm telling you, that's how it goes. Some of those places you work as a customer service, in the beginning you notice it. After a while, even going to work feels traumatic. Why? Because you're being harmed on a psychic level by doing that job. The owners of that corporation, that business, they are at ease, drinking champagne, eating expensive foods over there, going to the golf club or the theater or whatever, and you're the one going at home, stressed out to pay rent, and you're the one developing diseases or psychological issues. Look, if you have a 9-to-5 job for out of necessity right now, I don't judge you nor blame you. Do your job, pay your rent, but make sure you work towards getting out of there as soon as possible. That's why I support family formation. That's why I support women becoming sexually healthy and getting sexually healthy men to form families and communities so that we, as a community, we look after one another. You being all by yourself, working to pay your own rent, that's psychologically unhealthy. We human beings are designed to be part of a community. That's why this sexual effectiveness that they promote in high school and in the media, that's why it's so dangerous, because this sexual defectiveness they promote, free sex, feminism, and all of that, it destroys the family structure. And without family structure, people end up as loners, depending on this 9 to 5. But if you had strong extended families, nobody would even have to have a 9 to 5, because as a family, you would operate as a small community, look after one another. Sometimes you apply for jobs and the Holy Spirit is saying, hell no, you're not going to get this job. And they end up forgetting about you. Sometimes sometimes you have holy angelic beings going to the owner, not the recruiter, but the owner of the company. Let's say you are a believer and you lack knowledge and you apply for a job because you want to move forward in life, okay? You apply for a job not knowing that the job is a trap. What's going to happen? The moment you apply for the job, the Spirit does not blame you. You don't know any better. But holy angelic beings are released. And those holy angelic beings, they're going to visit the owner of the corporation. The owner of the corporation may be in a satanic ritual, or he may be relaxing on at a golf club, whatever, and suddenly this holy angelic being stands before him. He gets terrified. And he thinks, what? And the holy angelic being tells them, listen, there's a certain woman applying for a job over there. Make sure that the recruiter don't accept her. Because if the recruiter accepts her, you're in trouble. And then suddenly the owner tells the recruiter, because normally the owner doesn't even contact the recruiter. Now the owner tells the manager to tell the recruiter, don't hire such individual. And you're not hired. Hey, I'm telling you the truth. Sometimes it's holy angelic beings that will go out there to stand up for you. And they will warn that politician, or they would warn that employee, whatever, and make sure you don't hire this individual. Because this individual comes there and they suffer harm, you're next. I'm telling you. So, now you know all these things. Now you know that society is into how should I say, is into collecting for Satan. You can't stop people around you from participating in society. You can't stop society around you from existing. That will happen when Christ comes back. What you do is make sure you walk by faith, you walk in power so that you are not the one being harvested. All right? That's why, look, if you've been fired and you're on welfare now, you may be upset. But look at this. You're not on that blood farm anymore. This gives you time to recover and be better in life. Yes, it sucks to have a cut in your income. It sucks that you have to move back in with your parents. Or it sucks now having to be with relatives. Or it may suck now that you have to move to a cheaper apartment because you're on welfare. That all may suck, but look at the bigger picture. You are now freer and you're now healthier. You've been rescued. Because that company or that corporation you worked at, if you would have fainted, due to health issues, they would just fire you and hire someone else within a week. If you would have fallen down and died today, by the way, they can't give you back life because you're not Jesus Christ. If you would be so exhausted and you fall down and die today, they will say condolences to your relatives, maybe send some flowers towards them, and within a week, someone else is doing the job you've been doing. So why the heck would you sacrifice your long-term well-being for a corporation? Or just to get a pat on the back, you're doing a good job. Why the heck would you do that? Look, Again, if you have a 9 to 5 right now, for practical reasons, that's it. But don't let it take years for you don't stay there for years, man. Be there, get financially literate, be educated on financial stuff, be educated about the spirit world to make sure soon you're out of there for good. Human beings are designed to labor, absolutely, but we're not designed to be dependent on labor, and we're not designed to be exhausted by labor. That's not God's plan. Danielle, I'm sorry it happened to your father. Okay, I'm sorry it happened to him, but now you, the daughter, knows better because you witnessed this firsthand. I'm telling you the following. Some of you were kicked out from your workplace because holy angelic beings threatened those demons as well as those devil worshippers that if they don't kick you out, they come after them. Do you hear me? And those demons got their ass kicked out of heaven before. They don't want to experience such a thing again. And those devil worshippers don't want the demons to turn on them, so that's why they kicked you out. That's why they try to get rid of you. Some of you were not even entitled to welfare, but still got welfare. You know why? Because if you would be fired without welfare, you would starve to death. Ooh, this is going to cause a lot of repercussions to the community. So the community made sure that you have a place to stay and things to eat. Some of you are maintained by the community around you covertly because they know if you would end up in the street or suffer hunger, there will be repercussions on them. As a believer, if the community neglects you, they will pay for it in here and now. That's why, as a believer, you will notice that sometimes people are just kind towards you out of the blue. Maybe your reprobate mother, I hope your mother's not reprobate, but yes, some people have reprobate mothers, unfortunately. It can be that your reprobate mother can't stand you, but for some reason, people pressure her to take you in her house or to pay for an apartment for you to stay in. You know why? Because the community doesn't want to face the backlash because you are now in the streets and you're hungry. As a believer, being neglected by the community, man, they're going to face it. But still, even as a believer, if you're not walking by faith, if you haven't crossed the Red Sea and you haven't crossed the Jordan, as a believer, if you haven't graduated into sainthood, you can still be collected in the sense that you get diseases, or you die prematurely due to the violence of the crowd. And if you die before your time, it will be your relatives who will left behind with the trauma also. So they're also being harvested. If one of your parents develop health issues because of this 9 to 5 or because of society's teachings, then you are also being harvested because you developed trauma because of it also. Satan always comes to collect, not if he comes to collect, but when he comes to collect. So, beware with getting along in society. You don't have to go to the bushes and become a loner living in the wild. You don't have to go to an uninhabited island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You can be in the community amongst other people. Just make sure you don't agree with their darkness. All right? So, don't be so upset with Travis Scott. Don't. Because many of you what happened at the Travis Scott concert was happening to you on a daily basis for years, some of you even decades. It's only by the mercy of the Heavenly Father that you didn't end up dying. Many of you will listen to this. I'm not saying all of you. You almost got into accidents and end up in the hospital. Some of you ended up in bad relationships, toxic sexual relationships, because you couldn't think clearly. You were so exhausted. Some of you ladies will listen to this. You ended up with that ex boyfriend who was a narcissist because you were so exhausted you couldn't think clearly, and the narcissist was able to take advantage of you. And why were you so exhausted? Because of the 9 to 5 and because of society's expectations. So society sets you up to be taken advantage of sexually by a narcissist. Some of you got accidents. Some of you had a mental breakdown. Some of you were almost taken out. Some of you almost died of tragedies because of this 9 to 5 and society's expectations. It's though to some grandmother praying for you, or it's though some believers being active, it's though to the mercies of the Heavenly Father that you're still alive and listening to this live stream. Yes, this whole contract set up to renew demonic contracts. As simple as that. Look, a concert, there's nothing wrong with a concert. Let me get it straight. Paying a ticket to see an artist perform, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing demonic about it. Okay? There's nothing demonic about paying money to see a concert. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. However, the one you go to see perform, is he in his right mind towards you? Okay, I have no problem going to a concert. I absolutely don't. But if the concert I'm going through, if the performer is a devil worshiper, I'm not interested in going. Look, if it's a believer performing music or singing, I'm willing to pay $300, $500 to go and see that believer and sponsor the believer. Absolutely. But if some devil worshiper who's channeling evil spirits coming there to conduct a occult ritual on me, why the heck would I even be interested in attending that? Look, I'm not saying you can't attend a concert of an unbeliever. You can. Not every unbeliever is a narcissistic asshole who's out there to get you, who's out there to set you up. Absolutely not. I can go to the concert of an unbeliever. I can, and have a good time. But I prefer to go to a concert of a believer to support a believer. I prefer that. You know what? I didn't want to use my whiteboards now, but I'm going to use my whiteboards now. So, hold on. Wait a minute. Can you all see me? Hold on. Okay. Let me know if you can see me. Because my whiteboard's over there. I'm gonna use my whiteboard anyway to explain something to you. I have time. The live stream will be a bit longer than 1.5 hours, but I don't care. This is something important for you to know. Okay, so let me get this. I want to explain Greek magic to you. Greek magic. And I will explain to you the history of the Greek god Pan. By the way, pandemic comes from the root name Pan. Pan is a Nephilim. Okay? Pandemic, pandemonium, pantheon, or so the root word pan is in there. So pandemic, rooted word in Pan. Now, who was Pan? Pan, or is how you really pronounce it, Pan, or was a Nephilim from before the flood of Noah. Okay, so there are illustrations of how he looks like. I'm just showing it for educational purposes. Don't develop any interest in these entities, please. Let me write Pan God. All right, so let me go to the images. Hold on, I'm going to shift for you to see it. So this is how this Nephilim looked like. See it over here. Pan is another representation of him. Now, about this Pan, his father was a fallen angel. I don't care which fallen angel it was. His father was a fallen angel, or better said, a fallen angelic king. Okay, and his fallen angelic king was he drank human male blood and he metaphysically transformed, and he had this artificial body that he operated in. And with that artificial body, he raped women and animals. Now, some of those animals became pregnant, and these creepy beings came out of it. So that's the origin of Pen. So he is a Nephilim, okay? And this Nephilim, when he was in his body, because he will never get another body again, when he was in his body, he used to go around playing instruments like you see over here to lure women. And remember, he's a shapeshifter. So yes, the below part of his body is that of, how I should say, is that of goat. But here's the thing, he was able to shapeshift and his legs into common legs of a human male, okay? He was a shapeshifter. So what happened was that this entity would use musical charms to lure women. When the women would come, blinded by the music, he would then reveal his true shape and he would rape the women. So he was a serial killer, serial rapist and a serial killer. Now, when the flood of Noah happened, this entity lost his body. But because it's a Nephilim, in spirit form, he lingered around. And Satan was so happy with his lifestyle in his body that Satan promoted him to become a deity amongst the fallen angels. Okay? And in ancient times, they would worship this Pan by doing musical charms on the public. And doing those musical charms, they would rape little children and also molest women in general. Just remember, all demons hate females, okay? Now, in ancient times, you had, in ancient times, the ancient Greeks, they went to Egypt to study. So let me write this, let me do this because I'm using visuals right now, so hold on. I need to have a map of the Iron Age. Be patient with me, please, believers. Okay, just wait, please, because I need to. Here. Okay. Let's see it like this. In ancient times, it's around the time of Moses and before, it went like this. Yet the ancient Greeks over here, back then called Mycenaeans, they would go to Egypt to study. Egypt was called Kemet. Kemet is ancient Egyptian for black or dark. So you had the Ethiopian Empire, or Kush, and you had Egypt. The Ethiopian Empire was wealthier and more advanced, but Egypt was the Belphegor worshipping kingdom. And you didn't have that many countries on the earth back then. You had a few other countries, but this article, the ancient Greeks, they went to Egypt to learn. Okay, the Egyptians developed an obsession with sexual promiscuity and sweet food. So a lot of Egyptians had diabetes and all of that. You get me? The ancient Greeks, they were schooled in Egypt, and later, when the Israelites established the kingdom of Israel and later kingdom of Judah, also in Jerusalem. And so the Greek philosophers were schooled in, that is something they won't tell you in high school, because then they need to give credit to black folks, but they don't want to do that. Okay, but anyway, so I know those Greek philosophers, they were schooled in Egypt. That means in Africa, because the Middle East was also Africa in ancient times. Yeah, this guy, Pita, just bear with me, because I'm going to give you this history class now to educate you. Yeah, this Greek philosopher, Pythagoras, and Pythagoras also was schooled in Africa. That means amongst the Israelites, in Jerusalem, amongst Judeans as well as Egyptians. And this man later established his own mystery school, his own mystic school in the south of Italy. All right? And Pythagoras, that's where you get the theorem of Pythagoras, as you see here, even though this thing has roots in ancient Babylon also. But Pythagoras was a mathematician, and he was also specialized in many more sciences. And he settled in the south of Italy. He lived during the time of the prophet Daniel. Okay? And the prophet Daniel revealed that in the future it would be the Greeks that would become dominant. So, knowing from Daniel that the Greeks would become dominant, this Greek wizard over here thought, hey, if my people are going to become dominant in the future, and it's going to be ships from the Chittim, as said in Daniel chapter 11, that will be rule the seas, then what's the land of the Chittim? It's more towards the west, towards that peninsula we call Italia. So let's go over there and settle my mystery school. He did it. And at his mystery school, you had many European leaders sending their children and also coming there to learn how to manage their population. Now, there's another reason why Pythagoras is so well known, and that is because of the Greek magic when it comes to music. Okay? So now I'm going towards my whiteboard for the further explanation. By the way, do you follow it till now? I know I'm going a bit fast now. Do you follow me till now? Let me know in the live chat, please. All right. I didn't plan to do a live board session now, but God decided otherwise. But okay. So Pythagoras establishes mystery school that became quite popular. He also had he died, so people also came to copy his mystery school. And after Pythagoras established his school, the Greeks went through this kind of a civil war amongst each other, and they exhausted themselves completely. So the ancient Greeks were fed up with war, and they developed this appetite for philosophy. So the teachings of Pythagoras also became more and more popular. Now, I'm not saying all the Greeks endorsed him. No, absolutely not. But throughout Europe, Greek philosophy became something people saw as refreshing because the Greeks were not that much into warfare anymore. Now, Greek magic, what does it come down to? Our human brain picks up patterns, okay? Go to a neurologist and he will explain it better to you because he's specialized in the human brain. So he can explain better, but I'm explaining the basics to you over here. So, okay, let me put this over like this. So the human brain, there's your human brain. Just showing very quickly, it picks up patterns. All right? Visual and audio patterns. Okay? That's what your brain picks up. And when it comes to music, your brain develops an attachment to it. And with this attachment also affects the rest of your physical body. So music can be used to program your physical body. Okay? There's something you can do with music. There's something the ancient mystery schools knew, and Pythagoras also learned this when he was studying in Africa. Okay? So, Pythagoras was a mathematician who realized, hold on a minute. If the brain is like a machine that establishes patterns, and those patterns that the brain forms affect the human body, why not use music to establish patterns? And you could use that as population control. Okay? So using music to establish brain patterns to program your physical body is used for population control. Okay? So this is a political tool. So politicizing music, okay? How do you do that? You make sure that there is a standard repetitive rhythm. By the way, my handwriting is not that good, but just understand this. You make sure that the standard repetitive rhythm that repeats between 4 to 6 minutes. It takes 4 to 6 minutes of hearing a standard repetitive pattern for your brain to develop an attachment to it. All right? So you play the instruments in such a way that certain tones are repeated over and over again, and by doing this for 4 to 6 minutes, the brain gets used to it. And when you repeat this for several times to repetition, you're able to program someone's physical body and use it for population control. Now, this Greek magic, it has to use a standard for your brain. However, it also needs to trick the brain. All right? The brain has to be tricked. That's why it can't last for way too long. Now, you can have multiple songs after one another in which you use the same method, but you can't have one song lasting for 30 minutes and use this on them. No. And by the way, back then, you had no computers, you had no iPods, you had no CDs, you had no tape recorders, so you couldn't record music directly. Okay? So you had to practice this Greek magic with your musicians and your singers on for weeks, and then you practice them. And this is where national anthems come from. A national anthem, and it's not only national anthems, because in the United States, every state has its own anthem too. Because the United States is set up as a confederacy. Yes, the United States by design is a confederacy. Many don't want to hear this, but that's what it is. So the United States, every state, except 2, I believe it's Delaware and another one, but okay, you can look up for yourself. Every state in the United States, except 2, have their own anthem. Here's where, man, this thing is going down. Let me use this. Here's where anthems come from. An anthem is a song to program your body so the politicians can easily control you as a population. All right? Now, but for Greek magic to work, you have to practice it. And in ancient times, you couldn't record music. So today, you can go to Spotify or to YouTube and click play and hear music. It didn't happen in ancient times. So music was a social event. In ancient times, music was a social event. And this thing, because it was a social event, you had to have a social setting for it to take place. For example, at a wedding or at a funeral or at a military victory. So you had to have a social setting for it to take place. All right? Now, in a social setting, people are present. You had no microphones in ancient times. So you had to put it in a location with a lot of echo. Echo was the way the sound could reach a multitude of people. Because remember, they had no microphones, nor any speakers like we have today. So that's why you had theaters and those other arenas that were built in a way to cause a lot of echo. You get me? Now, what they did was they used specific tunes. They used tunes of the instruments to manipulate the echo. You get me? And it is in manipulating the tunes that are able to have a maximum effect on the public. For example, okay, let me do it like this. I need to close this for a moment. So, for example, let's say that there's a marketplace. And at the marketplace, you have 5 singers who are singing. Now, because it's on broad daylight, people are, they are on the market, they're pushing stuff. So you have these 5 women singing there in high tunes, and you have these instruments being played in a rhythmic way. So while you're while you're walking at the market, you suddenly begin to walk slower. Because this rhythm was designed to cause your body to slow down. You get me? Because you can use music to lower the physical process of the body. So if you hear certain relaxing music, your heart rhythm and certain process of the body slow down. And by certain process of the body slowing down because of this because this sound wave around you, you begin to walk slower. And because you walk slower, you feel more relaxed to look around you. And because you feel more relaxed, you're more likely to purchase things. So you have the people at the marketplace selling whatever they're selling, and you have this band over there and those singers enacting Greek magic, and the public will slow down in the rhythm, and the public will feel more comfortable there. And because they're comfortable, they notice more stuff and end up buying more stuff. The same thing is done today in many malls. Now you don't have the singers and the band over there, but today you have speakers, you have the internet, and you have CDs and all of that. So people just put some song in the mall, and you would hear this song in the mall while shopping, and for some reason you end up purchasing more than you intended to. Do the same thing today in malls. Just pay attention to it. Now, this Greek magic, it uses the echo. That's why malls today are built in such a way that they put speakers in certain locations, and the design of the building causes an echo of the sound. The echo is quite important, even till this day. Okay? Now, why was echo important? Yeah, in ancient times you had no speakers, I already explained that, but here's another reason. If your brain picks up an unnatural sound wave, it goes into a freeze mode, gets something off. But at the same time, you have this melody that makes your body excited. And because your brain is not designed to have two main processes going on at the same time, your brain gets confused. And by your brain being confused, now your subconscious mind is now open completely. They can dump anything to your subconscious mind. For example, let's say that you had let's say you had the Roman military, and the Romans had to fight some barbarians somewhere. The men in the military were thinking, whoa, this is a village filled with women and children. We're not going to do this. We're not going to fight the war over here. They're going to lead to many casualties. But here's the thing. If those soldiers were at the military camp and there was a musical performance with Greek magic, them being spelled by that song, by that musical performance of maybe an hour or two, it on the short term affected the brain chemistry, that when they arrived at the battlefield, they don't care who they kill, just kill anyone. And till this day, there are gangs out there where the perpetrators of violence, before they go out to rob a shop, or before they go out to knock someone out, or before they conduct a sex crime, they put on their earphones or headphones and they play some songs. In the 1980s, you had a Walkman they've used, I believe, later became a CD. Today, you can just use your mobile phone. But they would listen to songs in their head, and the song would energize them so much that they would just go out and just shoot someone or knock someone out. Why? Because that's the effect of the song, to energize them so they can continue with the act their body resisting. Because you just going out of your car to rob someone or just smack someone, your own body will hear you thinking, what are you doing? But now because you overruled the defense mechanism of your body by this Greek magic, you're able to do it easily. Haven't you noticed that at many of those concerts, a lot of the people that go there, they tend to become different people? You can be maybe you have a lady who's always quite reserved and introvert all the time, and at the concert she's going crazy. She's drinking, and she's wearing sexy clothes, and she's jumping on other men, right? Have intercourse, all of that, and think, whoa, this is a wild party girl. But after the concert, she's quite timid. Why? Because the Greek magic triggered the sexual repression in her. She has been sexually repressed, okay? Which is a bad thing. And because she's been sexually repressed by society, at the concert, this sexual repression is triggered, and she goes wild. If there was no sexual repression of society, she wouldn't be able to go wild. She had to be sexually repressed first for her to be triggered. That's why society exhausts you on a psychic level just to build triggers inside of you. And then through music, they trigger those triggers. So society develops triggers inside of you through trauma, and then Greek magic or politicized music triggers the trigger inside of you, the society put inside of you. That's how it goes. Simple as that. So we know now that there must be some unnatural sound wave also. And here it comes. Your brain can pick up a female voice. Okay? Now there is variation in human voice, I know that. But your brain can pick up a female voice. Your brain can pick up a masculine voice also. But let's say you have a man, okay, who has this effeminate voice. Your brain gets confused because of that. So using effeminate voices in songs brings the brain in more confusion quicker. So performing Greek magic with effeminate voices is far more effective. So how do you get effeminate voices? Even effeminate men are just effeminate in behavior. But even their voice is still masculine. So how do you get an effeminate, high-pitched voice? Now this is what they used to do. They used to kidnap little boys, or some families who were paying would donate one of their sons, and they would not only sexually traumatize those little boys, but later would castrate them, cutting off their testicles, and sometimes also their penis, but mainly their testicles. And because of that, they would do this before puberty, before age 10. Why? Because when you do it before age 10, their puberty is hindered. Because the testicles are necessary to begin to give boost of testosterone that will develop the physical body of the young man further. As men, during your puberty, your testicles produce so much testosterone that it shapes your further growth of your physical body to become manly and dense. So when they castrate a little boy, that dense development will not happen. So the man will still be a dense creature by design, but he'll appear quite soft because of it. Also, his voice will be less masculine because of it. And then they would feed estrogen-rich diet to these boys who have been castrated during their teenage years. And because of that, their bodies are low in testosterone, and at the same time, you have those estrogen-rich foods that causes their bodies to kind of quote-unquote transform to be more soft-like. So also voice become more softer. They have no surgery to effeminize people's voices back then. So that's what they would do. Those were the castratos, as Danielle is saying. And they used castratos because as grown men, when they speak, their voice will be a bit unnatural. So you just use those castrated men, castratos, as singers during their Greek magic performances. Why? Because by doing this, automatically you're certain that it will affect people, and that the population control will work. So they even went further by using those castrated men as substitute women. Why? Because remember, the Nephilim Pan raped females all over the place and killed them. You get me? And Pan's dad was a fallen angel, was also raping women all over the place. So the hatred of females is the number one thing that keeps the paranormal together. Demons hate women. So, because it's a paranormal discipline, this Greek magic, you need to include the hatred of women. So, instead of hiring or paying actual talented women to sing, you would get those castratos who would because they don't have enough testosterone, their skin appears a bit soft and all of that. You put makeup on them, you put a wig on them, or you let their hair grow, and you give them feminine clothes. You give them fake breasts and all of that as a costume, and they'll be singing there. People think, oh, those are women singing. But here's the thing: when those quote unquote when the castratos are singing, you see female figures there, but when they sing, you feel this density on you. Why? Because they're men. So you sense this density, but still hear a kind of a feminine voice. And this confuses your brain, because your brain can get stuck, and it's your brain being stuck for several seconds that gives this hack into you that now everything they say in the lyrics is programmed into you directly. So that's how they do it with anthems also. Just to program you to be loyal to the political structure over there. So castratos were the rule. Now, there were actual women choirs being used also, but that was for natural purposes. When it comes to political and military performances, it was castratos or just open men that were singing. Now, according to Wikipedia and according to conventional history, the last castratos died somewhere in the 19th century, I believe in the 1860s or 1870s. You can look it up for yourself. So, according to them, castratos are not used anymore. According to them, this practice has died out. I don't believe it at all, because they're using Greek magic till this day. Greek magic or politicized music is still used till this day, and it's something all countries worldwide do. Corporations do it also. Even schools do it. So, the difference between now and ancient times is that now you have a lot of grown men becoming part of this Baphomet pen thing, because in ancient times they had no specialized gender altering surgeries like you have today. You did have hormones they've used, hormones they got from from urine and all this other stuff. So the thing is, if the castratos today, many of them are grown men who decide to join Satan's side, and they undergo gender reassignment surgery. They get hormone pills, all of that, and they get a far better transformation than the castratos of ancient times had. Now, there are times to do it to children in some satanic families, which is a crime, but many of the castratos today are grown men who know what they're doing and they chose for it. So they're not victims that were just put in it, they had no choice. In some of those satanic families, they only have an act in public, and later they ask the son, do you want to continue with this? And sometimes the son will say, no, dad, I want to get out of it. If the son said, oh, I will be part of it, then they continue. So now you know, Greek magic in service of the god Pan. Okay? And that's why many women tend to be sexually harassed at those clubs and at those events. Why? Because the Greek magic being used slows down their cognitive abilities, and because of that, the women don't notice nor sense of intuition anymore. Because your body is a physical instrument that's connected to you, the spirit being. So when you're in a radar, your spirit radar picks up something, your body responds. But because the cognitive abilities of the body are lowered, or at least delayed due to the Greek magic, because of this, the women don't notice intuition going off. So they end up seeing a guy that smiles, they dance with the guy, something they normally wouldn't do, and end up being taken advantage of. Or they end up being sex trafficked. It also happens. So, can you listen to a song that's mathematical rhythms in it? Yes, you can. It doesn't mean that you automatically are spelled or you automatically demon possessed, whatever. No. Greek magic does not demon possess you. No. Greek magic, when it's done with all the ingredients, that means the mathematical rhythm that's repeated, with unnatural voice waves, and with the social setting, all of those together, if the Greek magic is done correctly, it will lower down your discernment. And it's lower down the discernments that makes it easy for the programmers of the politics to program their social program inside of you. Okay? So just listening to a quote-unquote worldly song does not automatically put you under a spell or whatever. That goes too far. That's being paranoid. However, if you notice that the song has a damning lyric, ask yourself, are you listening to it? So, do you understand this about Greek magic now? Or politicized music? And do you understand the relationship with the deity Pan? Do you understand it now? Let me know in the live chat. Do you understand this? Okay. Okay. That's good. Someone says repeat it. I know. What are you asking me to repeat? I didn't make a statement. I just said, just because you listen to a worldly song doesn't mean you're automatically under a spell. No. But if a song has a damning lyric, so a lyric is so negative, why the heck are you listening to it? So what's going out there is that a lot of churches talk about this, but don't mention it's Greek magic. They don't talk about the origin of this Nephilim pen. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about Pythagoras. They don't talk about Greek history. So they don't talk about castratos. They don't tell you the whole history to give you a context what's going on. They just tell you, oh, these people are using witchcraft in their music. Oh, they're dangerous. And because you have no background of the science behind it, you think, whoa, those people are very powerful. They're powerful witches or powerful warlocks. No, they're not. They're just using a politicized tool to lower your discernment so that you can easily be programmed. That's it. Satan is not that powerful. He has tricks. Now, the tricks are powerful because the masses don't look at the bigger picture. So I just explained this trick of Greek magic to you. Okay? Some musical genres use Greek magic more often. For some of those electronic musical genres, like you have those electronic musical genres, they tend to use Greek magic even more because even the sound is electronic, so it's a bit different. But then you have, for example, classical music. In classical music, they do use Greek magic from time to time, but because classical music are songs that long, because classical songs take quite long, it's not very smart with Greek magic in classical songs. You can do it, but it takes a bit too long. But it does happen. Okay? So, am I saying you can't listen to any song out there? Look, if an unbeliever records a song and it's a good song, you can listen to it. Nothing wrong with it. But if this artist is part of a record label that's involved in the worship of Pan and using Greek magic, then some of those songs, especially songs that become hits, watch out with them. Now look, when you are a believer that graduates in sainthood, you walk by faith, if you listen to charmed music, your body will get tired and eventually you will stop listening to it. Because that's a natural defense of your body that's activated. But if you're not a believer that walks by faith, okay? So if you're an unbeliever or a believer is not delivered, you may be listening to a charmed music or a charmed song, not unaware, and you're affected in daily life. So just avoiding music that does have the label Christian is nothing else, because even Christian record labels use Greek magic. Hillsong Church uses Greek magic. Okay? Managers churches out there use Greek magic also. Right? For population control, to keep you at ease in church. All right? So, you can listen to songs made by unbelievers, something wrong with that. Because just because a song or a record label has a label Christian doesn't mean it's safe. Okay? What makes you think that Satan is not going to use Greek magic where believers are? Yes, he will. Because many believers are not even aware of the history to begin with, so they fall for it. Now that you know this history, and you hear a charmed song, it will not affect you that much anymore. Why? Because you now have context to process it. Because this is what you need to understand. The only reason Greek magic is affected because there's no context. Once you know the context, what's going on, your brain can process it. Greek magic is affected because people lack knowledge. Okay? Most people don't know anything about brain patterns, artificial patterns, about how it affects the body. They know nothing about the effect of effeminate voices and all of that. They don't know. So when they are exposed to it, it affects them. But because the brain can't process it, because once you know about something, the brain can process it and it doesn't affect you that much. So it can be that you, who has this knowledge now, listens to some charmed music and after a while, you just turn it off and you just shake it off of you. You can do that. But some other believer who knows nothing, he listens to the chum song and he becomes tired or he feels agitated, and has an effect on him. So it depends on your level of knowledge and whether you have context to process things. Okay? It's magic. Okay? So it relies on trickery. As simple as that. Aaron, thank you very much for your that donation. Very much appreciated. No, Pan, as already explained, is a Nephilim. It's not Satan. He's not Satan himself. So loud pitch screeching music is also used in Greek magic often, but to get it straight, not everyone uses Greek magic out there. Okay, not everyone. And our record label's not doing it, but many do. And many churches do also. Doesn't mean now you always need to be on guard. Ooh, is this Greek magic or no? Don't become paranoid. You have the knowledge now. Process this knowledge so that you can process knowledge, let it digest in your mind so that whenever you're exposed to music, you can naturally process the music you're listening to. And if there's Greek magic behind it, you'll figure it out sooner or later. And even then, the Greek magic will not affect you that much. And this is what they don't tell you in those churches. Many churches warn you about worldly music, but don't give you a context and they don't explain to you the only reason that worldly music, if it's charmed, because not all worldly music is charmed, but if it's charmed, the only way it can affect you is when you don't have the context to process it. I just gave you the context, so now you can digest this, and in the future you can process when you hear worldly music. So those churches keep warning you about worldly music, keep scaring you. They're actually putting you in fear. And by putting you in fear, demons have hold on you. So many of those ministries. You have this ministry by this black man. I believe his last name is Lewis. I'm not going to mention his full name because I don't want to get his followers to stalk me and to harass me on this channel. You have this black man in the United States, African-American man, with the last name Lewis. He has this ministry, and he talks about the danger of hip-hop and all of that. And he talks about Babylon, this, that. But the only thing he's doing is filling your head with occult information, but it never gives you context for you to process it, and it leaves out Greek magic. Okay? And it doesn't focus on worshiping Christ on learning worldly ways of thinking. He even endorses some worldly ways of thinking in his ministry. And he's been doing this even before he was born, he was basically doing this. So he got stuck in scaring people into the paranormal. All right? And there are more ministries out there in the black community and outside of it who are putting fear in you towards world music instead of telling you the truth and how to process music in general. Listen, just because the music is aggressive doesn't mean it's bad, okay? Music is not supposed to always be soft and calm. If people listen to drum music excites you. And if you have a performance, people are using drums and they're screaming and shouting, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people listen to music where everyone is quiet, like at a funeral. At a funeral, you're not going to put music where everyone is, you're going to put some dance song at the funeral, or because it doesn't fit the context. People are there to mourn and grieve, so you put a soft music over there. But if people want to have a good time, then you put music where people use drums and guitars, and everyone can have a good time. So having music where they are exciting and jumping around, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. That's what I'm talking about. Greek magic has to do with the pattern and the trickery of the brain by distorting the sound waves and echoes. That's what I'm talking about. So Ruth, just because people are screaming and being aggressive in a song doesn't mean it's evil. There's nothing wrong with that. Wild music is still music. There's nothing wrong with wild music. You can have soft music that uses Bible verses and it's still going to be Greek magic to damn you. As simple as that. Okay? A lot of people use this knowledge to justify their musical preferences and demonize other music. Don't do that. Music is music. However, who generates music and for what purpose? That's what matters. Who generates music and for what purpose? All right. So I can erase this right now. So, I'm glad I took the time to explain this about Greek magic towards you, so I don't have to make another live stream explaining it separately because it ties into the topic. All right, so let me just sit down. All right. This live stream has lost for 2 hours and 20 minutes, so it's quite long. So what I'm going to do now is explain to you that very briefly that for just an half minute, I'm going to explain to you music is used in combination with color codes. Blue tends to calm you down. Red tends to trigger you. So using color codes in harmony with music is what they do in mainstream media. That's why you have those intros in mainstream media where they show you all those flickering lights. This is what you need to understand. When you see flickering lights, it kind of affects your brain to be not anxious, but to be triggered. To use those flickering lights to trigger your brain, and while you have this melody, when the news report begins, and then you see all those colors, then you see the news reporter looking at you in a hypnotic way into the camera and say the music, and say the news, I mean. So you have the music being played, the rhythm, with color codes and flickering lights, and then you see the news reporter looking at you in the camera in a hypnotic way. Why are they doing that? They do this just to set you up to receive everything the news reporter is saying. All right? So, mainstream media uses Greek magic all the time. Yes, there's nothing wrong with a countdown. There's nothing wrong with putting an intro with a melody. That's fine. But they use Greek magic in it. You listen, try to find a media, try to find some media outlet out there who does use Greek magic. It's very rare. Maybe in Africa, but even those blacks in Africa use Greek magic now. Coons, but anyway, excuse me, but I had to express myself. But anyway, that's it for now. Do you have any questions about the topic of this live stream? Awesome. By the way, when this live stream is over, there are a few people I'm going to call. So Ruth, just wait for a moment. I'm going to call you afterwards. William, if you're in the live stream now, I'm about to call you too. So wait. Almost over. Okay. Okay, people that say things as all instruments are magic. Okay, don't come here with that nonsense over here. All instruments are handcrafted, that's true, but not all instruments are magic. Magic is paranormal discipline. It's not something physical out there. Okay, I don't get any questions here. The live stream has been for quite a long time already. Please, once this live stream is processed by YouTube, download it, share it with other people, replay it, take some notes. I need to go now. I'll talk to you later in the next live stream. Be at peace and agree with Christ.